Evening shadows crept across the metropolis when a servant girl mustered her courage to deliver supper to Lord Caden's quarters. The sovereign had isolated himself within his private rooms for an extended period, issuing strict commands against any disturbance. With trembling hands, the attendant crept toward the monarch and set the meal upon his desk. Caden remained utterly absorbed in the manuscript before him, seemingly unaware of another soul's presence within his sanctuary. Without warning, the tome crashed against the desk's surface, rattling the porcelain and silverware. Terrified, the servant began stammering apologies, though she bore no responsibility for the disturbance. Caden clarified that his fury stemmed from the worthless manuscript that had consumed countless hours of his precious time, only to prove itself utter garbage. The story depicted a realm already torn apart by civil strife and chaos. Within its pages, Crown Prince Theron Blackwood struggled to liberate his homeland from the Shadow Emperor's grasp. Yet the protagonist faced every trial in complete solitude. Despite having no personal connection to these fictional events, Caden found himself profoundly affected by the narrative. His own prosperous rule stood in stark contrast to the doomed hero's journey within those pages. Choosing to spare the servant further distress, the Lord dismissed her and sank into contemplation. Even seated in his study, the echoes of reverent praise from his subjects reached his ears. Though barely past his youth, Caden had successfully unified every territory beneath his banner save for the Shadowlands. His citizens genuinely celebrated their leader's achievements. They had even bestowed upon him the title Sovereign of the Obsidian Crown, yet this brought him no satisfaction. Caden had thrived on the thrill of conquest, but now found himself with nowhere left to expand. He had accomplished everything possible. Lost in melancholy musings, the young ruler failed to notice sleep claiming him in his chair. Consciousness returned slowly as someone carried him swiftly through unfamiliar hallways. Peering through barely opened eyes, Caden observed the stranger racing through deserted passages. His body felt completely drained of strength, leaving him no choice but to trust this unknown protector. Two hooded figures emerged from the shadows at the next intersection, while his carrier drew a blade. The ambushers launched their assault without uttering a single word. His guardian proved himself a formidable warrior, though fighting while carrying someone clearly hindered his movements. Eventually, the assassins backed them into a corner with no escape route. Reinforcements arrived, drawn by the combat sounds, shouting their intent to murder Prince Theron. Left with no alternatives, the protector carefully placed his charge on the ground. Declaring himself as Marcus and vowing to defend his sovereign with his life, he prepared for battle. Combat erupted anew while Caden struggled to comprehend his circumstances and surroundings. This was clearly not his palace. He recognized no one, yet they all wished him dead. Marcus alone stood between him and death, and the defender was losing ground. Caden desperately gathered what remained of his inner reserves, knowing seconds remained. His ears caught footsteps, one assassin charging directly at him. Marcus, trapped across the corridor, screamed for his liege to flee. The warning proved futile as the attacker closed in, blade poised for the killing stroke. Yet fate intervened. The weapon halted mere inches from Caden's heart. The assassin stood frozen, unable to move a muscle. Caden's eyes opened gradually. He silently thanked his instincts for recovering just in time. Rising slowly, the prince removed the sword from his chest's proximity. Witnessing their comrade's paralysis, the remaining killers rushed forward. They raced unknowingly toward their doom. Without lifting a finger, the young man caused the corridor to erupt in crimson spray. Marcus alone survived the carnage. Caden finally understood. He had been reborn into another person's body. Walking down the passage, memories from the book he'd read surfaced in his mind. By some twist of fate, he now inhabited Theron Blackwood, the powerless prince from that cursed tale. Examining his new appearance filled Caden with disgust. This disheveled look infuriated him. The novel dictated that Theron should perish in this assassination attempt. However, Caden's unexpected transmigration had saved the prince from his scripted demise. Without his inherent abilities, he would have died alongside this new vessel. Every method of verification confirmed this impossible reality. Having finished the book, he knew this world had merely 3 years remaining. The story's ending saw the Shadow Emperor consume the entire realm despite all resistance. Now that Caden existed here, his pride refused to accept losing another kingdom. He resolved to unify the realm before the Shadow invasion commenced. His natural powers remained incomplete due to Theron's frail physical form. Yet these challenging circumstances strangely filled him with anticipation and excitement. Caden began formulating his strategy. Tomorrow he would address the conspirators and their puppet masters. He observed numerous guards patrolling today, unlike yesterday's absence. This led him to conclude that palace security couldn't be trusted with his safety. Deep in thought, he approached the main entrance before guards blocked his path. Apparently, someone else had restricted his movement within his own estate. This insult sparked such rage that Caden abandoned words for action. Systematically, he eliminated each guard who dared obstruct him. Dismissing the survivor's screams, he strode toward the exit. Upon opening the doors, a massive crimson moon dominated his vision. His contemplation was interrupted by guards who'd learned of his departure. This time they brought Commander Raphael, head of palace security. Surveying his new domain, Caden realized everyone except Marcus warranted suspicion. He declared the guard's execution justified for betraying royalty, brooking no argument. These words caused visible tension among the guards, particularly after Theron Blackwood promised them identical fates. Only Raphael expressed outrage at the supposedly helpless youth's audacity. The commander decided to complete yesterday's unfinished business. Recognizing another confrontation brewing, Caden felt genuine joy surge through him. Raphael initiated the assault. Caden found amusement in how his reincarnation caused others to underestimate his capabilities. He ended the security chief's life without hesitation. Silence descended upon the palace entrance as everyone stared at Raphael's corpse. Even Marcus stood shocked. He'd never witnessed Theron display such power. The prince then announced new regulations would take effect immediately. Any betrayal or violation would result in immediate execution. This formerly weak youth's commanding presence forced everyone present to kneel. Time progressed, and Caden felt his strength increasing as Theron's body adapted. One day, Marcus informed him of Lady Seraphina's arrival. Caden possessed extensive knowledge about this troublesome character. She was Theron's betrothed. Minutes later, they sat facing each other in the grand hall. Throughout the extended silence that Caden refused to break, she finished her tea. Unable to endure further, Seraphina announced her desire to dissolve their engagement. Expecting objections from Theron, the lady prepared her arguments. Instead, he curtly interrupted with his agreement. She suddenly felt as though she'd misheard him. Rising from his seat, he bid farewell, expressing hope they'd never meet again. Bewildered, Seraphina remained seated, having anticipated a different outcome. Beyond the door, Caden encountered the lady's imposing bodyguards. They demanded an apology for his treatment of their mistress. They understood Seraphina's wounded pride stemmed from his swift acceptance of separation. She had genuinely desired Theron to suffer from their breakup. Now circumstances suggested he felt nothing for her whatsoever. When Seraphina opened the door, she expected her guards restraining the prince. Instead, she witnessed him effortlessly defeating her security detail. Greater resistance from her guards only prompted stronger retaliation. Fear gripped Seraphina. She'd never seen her former betrothed like this. More than ever, she yearned to solve this complex puzzle, which required remaining nearby. Therefore, the lady made one final request to Theron. She argued that certain matters required resolution before their permanent separation. Before responding, Caden calculated the ramifications of his choice. Ultimately deciding she might prove useful, he consented. 3 days had elapsed since their previous encounter. Seraphina seethed with frustration as her scheme seemed doomed to failure. The man avoided contact, and she desperately needed to understand his newfound power. Recognizing time's scarcity, the lady resolved to act immediately. After an hour's search, she located Theron in the training chamber. Unable to contain her emotions, she immediately launched into accusations. Mid-tirade, the prince silenced her, demanding proper respect. He owed her nothing, and finding no retort, Seraphina departed. This outcome aligned perfectly with Caden's desires. No one should overhear his preparations. He had restructured palace security and patrol routes entirely. His intuition proved reliable as always. On night 4, murderers infiltrated his palace once more. Caden remained awake, anticipating visitors. The intruders expressed surprise at encountering no resistance. Everything suggested they were expected, despite intelligence indicating strengthened palace security. Abruptly, one attacker collapsed in a pool of blood. While the criminals pondered the attack's origin, all but one met similar fates. Caden chose to honor the final assassin with a personal appearance. The killer's final thought concerned Prince Theron's hidden true power. Everyone in this realm must finally comprehend the danger of crossing the prince. Explosions suddenly echoed from the palace's opposite wing. Caden had forgotten Seraphina's magical abilities. She, too, faced attack. His suspicions proved correct as the enraged lady activated her essence for defense. Though the killers found her presence surprising, they pressed their assault regardless. Despite generating a protective barrier, she felt the attackers' overwhelming force. Eventually, intense pressure caused the shield's collapse as the blade approached her heart. Terror overwhelmed Serafina, causing the barrier's final destruction. The assassin exploited this weakness, swinging for a lethal strike. Unexpectedly, the attacker's limbs ceased obeying, as if controlled by another. Against his will, the murderer plunged his own blade into his chest. Dying, he glimpsed Prince Theron within the chamber, his doing. Witnessing his partner's demise, the last killer attempted escape. Caden had no intention of pursuit. The survivor was needed alive to track whom he'd report to. Then the true game would commence, with the mastermind answering for everything. Days passed as Caden felt mounting tension from his increasing power. He spent nearly every moment contemplating methods to strengthen his vessel. Shortly after the weekend, Theron's sister, Lady Alara Blackwood, requested an audience. The book portrayed sibling allies rather than enemies. She had supported him. Reality no longer matched the novel's depiction, as Alara also stood as throne heir. She knew about the assassination attempts on her brother. The lady interpreted her sibling's reserved demeanor as trauma from his ordeal. Alara offered assistance with palace security, which Theron politely declined. Eventually, the lady revealed her visit's true purpose. She inquired about the succession ceremony and her brother's intentions. Directly stating her preference, she wished Theron would withdraw. Her brother's questions about supporting arguments angered Alara. She believed he couldn't survive the succession ceremony's trials. Even if he somehow succeeded, she doubted he'd last a week on the throne. While making these arguments, Alara employed the Blackwood family's suggestion power against her sibling. Unknown to her, Theron was no longer defenseless. Her magical tricks failed. Ultimately, Lady Alara Blackwood departed empty-handed. She informed her security chief that her brother had rejected assistance. The lady also noted dramatic changes in Theron's personality, as if he had always concealed his power. His unfamiliar energy concerned the lady, prompting increased security orders. She concluded that protecting her brother required action even against his wishes. Hours after returning home, Caden received a gift from her. The lady had sent an elixir of ancient ogre endurance and strength. Frankly, such kindness toward him proved surprising. He observed similarities between his strength and Alara's, though he deemed it impossible. Having Theron's sister's support benefited his plans. Caden decided the time had come to expose palace traitors and summoned Serafina. Her ex-betrothed's behavioral transformation astonished the woman, yet Caden's request stemmed from practical necessity. Before her arrival, he'd drawn a spell diagram for her activation. Serafina marveled at the prince's newfound talents. She'd never encountered such magic. She promised completion by tomorrow, but wondered why he needed revelation magic. Caden avoided details. The kingdom wasn't prepared for such truths. The following day, everyone within the palace assembled in a courtyard. All wondered why His Highness had gathered them. Recently, the prince's behavior had begun frightening the servants. After everyone assembled, Caden ordered Serafina to begin. She activated the magical spell. The floor's pentagram blazed with brilliant light. Anxious whispers spread among the crowd. Serafina bit her finger at the conclusion. 4 blood drops fell into the magic circle's center, cementing the spell. This struck the palace administrator like lightning. Unable to contain himself longer, he began transforming before everyone present. Serafina recoiled in horror at the revelation. The exposure magic had revealed the enemy's true nature. The administrator was a genuine monster, an agent of the Shadow Emperor. Just as the book described, this demon lost all control from the lady's blood scent. She couldn't understand why the creature targeted her specifically. The lady's guards rushed to defend her, though only Caden knew her blood-intoxicated monsters. The book detailed how demons eventually captured her for constant feeding. Despite the guards' bravery, the prince knew their efforts were futile against supernatural forces. Only Caden possessed the power to resist the demon now, so he stepped forward. The creature charged toward its desired prey, fearing nothing. This proved its mistake as Caden's hand clamped around its throat. The demon writhed free, hurling the prince far across the courtyard. Only after this unpleasant surprise did the monster realize this wasn't the prince's magic. The power the youth wielded made the creature question his true identity. Without moving, Caden firmly declared himself the demon's enemy. Following these words, the monster lunged forward, attempting to shred the prince. The youth had anticipated this. He needed the demon within reach. One swift motion saw the prince strike his opponent's vital area. Caden claimed the demon's life, preventing any information transmission to its master. Seconds later, Lady Alara's guards converged on the courtyard. The knights expressed concern for Theron's well-being. He assured them of his health and dismissed their worries. Revealing demonic existence to the public remained premature in his estimation. Shortly afterward, news reached Third Prince Damien Blackwood's palace. Initially, His Highness assumed reports concerned their planned assault on his brother. Instead, the servant reported demons appearing in Theron Blackwood's palace. Only general details were known since spy connections within the prince's circle had severed. This proved as disturbing as Prince Theron's behavioral changes. He'd definitely grown stronger. Yet Damien refused to believe his brother, preferring to think him insane. The third prince possessed highly developed ego. Information that Theron hadn't refused the succession ceremony wounded Damien. He ordered surveillance of his brother and preparations for a warm reception at the trials. While his brother schemed against Theron Blackwood, Caden inhabiting his body sought allies. Reaching this location required deceiving his palace guards. Though Moonlit Evening appeared merely a restaurant externally, the prince sought what lay hidden within. Seating himself, he gave the approaching waiter the secret phrase. Minutes later, they descended dark stairs to the Silver Eye Information Guild. The stern woman greeting him below questioned his identity suspiciously. The prince insisted he had guild branch business, refusing to answer questions. The receptionist denied further access until he revealed his name. She explained their recent opening meant no one should know this branch existed. At that moment, Caden realized he'd acted prematurely in seeking connections. Branch guards rushed the prince, intending to eliminate the potential spy. Yet Caden had no intention of dying in this basement. One motion scattered the attackers in various directions around him. Battle-hardened veteran warriors died instantly at the hooded stranger's hands. The receptionist froze in place. Caden approached, stating his identity held no importance. Seconds later, Vera, the receptionist, had accepted the stranger's order. He sought information about the Shadowwood Forest and forged document preparation. Yet Vera acted not from fear. During combat, she'd glimpsed silver hair marking royal family membership. This unexpected visit intrigued her enough to order complete investigation of the youth. Vera felt convinced she beheld the future emperor today. She believed unprecedented power emanated from this stranger. While Caden pursued his agenda, Seraphina couldn't find peace. She desperately craved explanations for events she'd witnessed. Someone must answer for the terror Theron had inflicted upon her. Yet Seraphina's desires held no weight in this palace. The prince refused audiences. Despite her insistence, Marcus remained immovable. The lady dismissed all arguments as lies, having witnessed the prince's strength firsthand. Marcus insisted on maintaining absolute secrecy regarding recent events. Finally, Theron's bodyguard announced the woman should return home immediately. Caden couldn't receive her, not from unwillingness. He'd already departed on his journey. From the beginning, the prince knew several people monitored him. These spies accompanied him even in the train compartment. Yet Caden's plans didn't include eliminating surveillance, as these people might prove useful later. The prince suspected the Silver Eye Guild had sent these spies. According to the novel, these individuals could provide valuable support in future struggles. He understood his lone bodyguard would lack sufficient experience and strength. Generally, the prince traveled to Ashfall City seeking powerful allies. Only the local lord and family knew about the Shadowwood Forest surrounding the city. Caden rushed here specifically for the Cleansing Festival, intending to alter Ashfall's fate. The book stated the Shadowwood Forest would destroy the human population during the festival. From the novel, Caden knew entering the Shadowwood Forest required the city ruler's permission. Therefore, he summoned one of the guild's spies, shocking the organization. She needed to discover recruitment locations for mercenary units. The spy harbored many questions about the prince's extensive knowledge. Yet he left her with her assumptions, not intending to simplify matters. While Ashfall City prepared for another festival, Isabella informed her father of her intentions. The governor's daughter wished to eradicate the Purifier Order, preventing evil's containment. Duke Gabriel couldn't understand how his daughter could achieve what their ancestors had failed. Yet Isabella remained adamant. She wanted no more sacrifices at the Cleansing Festival, especially not for feeding the dark essence within the Shadowwood Forest. She'd long ago decided everything regarding this matter, seeking no approval. Isabella's only concern now involved finding mercenaries with sufficient strength for the mission. She felt tradition's devotion forced townspeople under the Purifier's control. With such dark thoughts, Isabella reached the arena where selection would occur. Her longtime friends already occupied the venue alongside several candidates. They understood the woman's position conflicted with her father's opinion. Yet the main goal remained finding useful squad members. The group shared their opinion that no worthy candidates existed among those present. Some suggested simply handling everything themselves rather than this pointless task. Yet Nathaniel, one of Isabella's close friends, mentioned having several candidates in mind. As he spoke those words, Caden entered the arena. Minutes after the governor's daughter appeared, selection commenced. The prince observed Isabella with great interest. The book portrayed her as extremely gifted. Future events would see her become one of the Empire's most powerful warriors. With these thoughts, Caden's turn arrived, and he introduced himself using his real name. Having dyed his hair before testing, he felt certain none would recognize Theron. A wanted murderer who feared apprehension entered the arena for a duel against him. Caden thought he shouldn't display his true strength initially, yet the enemy interpreted this as weakness. After another threat series, the robber charged, but the youth remained motionless. He carefully observed his opponent's movements, calculating disruption of the attack trajectory. At the final moment, the prince made one sharp foot movement, sending the attacker groundward. Yet Caden hadn't planned merely causing a fall. He struck the robber's face before landing could occur. This launched the opponent airborne like a balloon. Victory undoubtedly belonged to the prince. The criminal lay unconscious. This greatly shocked those present, as everyone knew the criminal's strength and temperament. Nathaniel didn't believe the youth possessed exceptional power. Yet he sought Isabella's opinion, as this candidate seemed promising. William, another comrade, felt entirely unimpressed by this duel, especially Caden. Thomas, Isabella's third childhood friend, also believed this candidate would merely court death. Ultimately, these two convinced Isabella they wouldn't find worthy mercenaries. Suddenly, the governor's daughter looked up, seeing a strange man entering the arena. She kept watching him, eventually spotting the Purifier Order's tattoo on his leg. This became unexpected incentive for decisive action. This secret cult's followers had prevented Ashfall's people from living peacefully for decades. Thus, despite all warnings, one of its representatives was selected. As expected, evil had poisoned the man, and transformation had already begun. Those present had little time. Something powerful struggled to escape his body. Yet Isabella solved this problem with one leap and skillful kick. She proved again why respect for her as a distinguished family's heiress was deserved. One of Isabella's ancestors had previously tamed the evil she now wished to destroy permanently. Yet the saboteur wasn't alone. Another infected one appeared across the arena. She realized the first man had simply distracted her from others. Insufficient time remained for reaction. She was too distant. The next second, a powerful explosion sounded. Isabella couldn't even comprehend what occurred when smoke cleared. The enemy had vanished. William, Thomas, and Nathaniel stared at her amazed, not understanding how she'd managed this. No one except Isabella had seen the real hero. Yet she wouldn't share this information with anyone, beginning to suspect everyone. Isabella noticed Caden appearing behind the mutant at the crucial moment. Using his unknown power, the man had rendered the saboteur's explosion harmless to others. Caden once again thanked his excellent memory, which never failed him. He'd known about the cultist attack from the book, providing opportunity to prove himself. Ultimately, the youth achieved his goal, selection for the mercenary unit. Half an hour later at a squad meeting, everyone present finally examined each other. After allowing time for acquaintance, Isabella began outlining her plan. She explained about the evil Shadowwood Forest and how city guards protected its entrance. She told of her ancestor who built this city after conquering evil. Isabella also revealed unknown information. Evil wasn't destroyed, merely sealed. Ashfall had paid tribute with human lives at the Cleansing Festival for years. Through ritual, serious crime convicts entered the Dark Forest. Despite bad people suffering, this occurred 5 times monthly. Therefore, she thought ahead. Soon criminals would deplete and residents must pay. Though these sacrifices forced the seal to contain evil, Isabella disliked the methods. The Duchess felt certain the time had arrived to end Ashfall's terrible tradition. Since evil had weakened and those present were the city's strongest warriors, they had a chance. These words made squad members wonder why Caden accompanied them. The prince understood nearby people would become their generation's hope and future. Naturally, they held prejudiced attitudes toward him. Yet Isabella wouldn't reveal Caden's truth. She relied on intuition. He realized she likely acted from suspicion of others. The arena invasion had undermined her trust. The arena lay within the governor's palace under heavy guard. Caden knew the traitors' names but couldn't reveal them now. Isabella realized conversation had deadlocked. Therefore, she changed subjects to discuss upcoming operation plan details. When the meeting concluded, Caden decided to practice his strength. He saw himself gradually becoming more powerful but still faced problems. To confront strong opponents, acceleration was necessary. Suddenly, a female voice interrupted the prince's thoughts. A woman stood behind him, not attacking but offering compliments. Despite her innocent face, the prince knew exactly who stood before him. The Shadowwood Forest's absolute evil had personally visited him. Realizing deception was useless, she immediately stated her purpose. She persistently requested he avoid the expedition. The request eventually transformed into death threats. Afterward, the specter of evil vanished as suddenly as it appeared. Caden felt unintimidated by the last 10 minutes, inclining toward addressing current problems. Just as before, he found his spy without difficulty. She received another order, a spell storage stone. Though difficult to solve quickly, she managed excellently. The woman maintained hope that answers about the client's motivations would eventually come. Yet Caden remained adamant, having no intention of sharing information with the guild. Before dawn, the mercenary detachment departed for the Shadowwood Forest. Only then did the prince realize the name literally described everything surrounding them. Strange that besides local authorities, none in the Empire knew this place and its danger. The prince noticed Isabella's unquestionable authority. Everyone followed regardless of circumstances. After walking further, squad members felt dark energy increasing. Yet Isabella didn't wish to stop, quite the opposite. She intended to announce their arrival. She released powerful energy streams with her spear deep into the forest, seemingly splitting Earth in half. Assessing her efforts' results, Isabella simply ran forward without explanation. Squad members felt somewhat confused by such unexpected attacks. Yet recovering in time, they hurried after her. The advance proved short-lived, as the mercenaries' loud appearance quickly led to finding first monsters. Wolves rushed at the woman unhesitatingly. William arrived to help the leader, timely, deftly breaking the first one's jaw. This youth possessed quite substantial hand power. Nathaniel also remained active, skillfully dealing with 2 other monsters. Yet this was merely the beginning. An entire monster pack emerged from forest thickets for dinner. One mercenary who'd acted quieter suddenly ordered everyone's retreat. Luna, her name, created an energy tornado around herself that rapidly grew. Wolves couldn't escape, instantly burning in blue flame. During this brief fight, the prince did nothing, merely observing team actions. Yet with Giant Bat's arrival, Caden decided joining the coordinated effort. One hand wave stopped the bat flock. Such stranger capabilities greatly impressed Luna, who'd previously distrusted him. Yet no time remained for relationship clarification. Following bats through thickets, a giant bear already made its forest way, unwilling to wait. Besides the monster, roots began growing rapidly from underground unexpectedly. This divided mercenaries into 2 groups. Thus far, William and Isabella quite successfully handled the monster without involving others. Yet during this time, Nathaniel and Caden found themselves completely separated from the remaining squad. When companions finally disappeared behind the root wall, Caden felt distance forming between them. The prince knew certainly this was for the best, finding himself one-on-one with a traitor. Observing Nathaniel's nervousness, the man finally decided to end this. Caden openly stated knowledge of the traitor's plan, making him halt. As the prince preferred, situations began escalating. Meanwhile, remaining mercenaries began deeply worrying about Nathaniel. They considered the youth incapable of providing proper danger assistance, considering Caden weak. Yet Isabella didn't share concerns, only wanting forward movement. Of all present, the Duchess believed most in the prince's strength. Despite recent events, Isabella couldn't suspect her closest friends of betrayal. She'd known some since earliest youth. They were family to her. Therefore, Isabella felt pleased her friend ended with such a powerful warrior. Nathaniel held many titles but was also one of the Purifier cult's leaders. The prince knew his biography well, as the novel detailed it extensively. Upon learning only Caden knew his secret, the traitor began behaving very brazenly. Confident he'd handle the enemy and quickly returned to fulfill his goal. Drawing his weapon, Nathaniel charged, unaware of his grave mistake. The man's greatest flaw was exaggerated self-confidence. Yet Caden, without moving, somehow managed counterattacking his opponent. This shocked Nathaniel, considering he'd lost his sword hand. The prince decided he could no longer hide abilities whatsoever. He didn't care what his opponent discovered before death. Nathaniel hoped until the end that his family's technology would ensure survival. Yet Caden effortlessly repelled all the man's revenge attempts. A moment later, he found himself dangerously near the enemy. Realizing his time had expired, the traitor said the Purifier's mission would still succeed. Yet this wasn't news to the prince. He knew well Nathaniel hadn't acted alone. The man had clearly calculated timing. To successfully complete the task, the prince still needed finding the seal restraining evil. The mercenary squad nearly reached the forest's center, requiring haste. Yet retrieving the seal proved difficult. Evil spirit remnants remaining within began resisting the thief. Forcing the monster's full appearance, Caden unhesitatingly destroyed it with one blow. He hoped this item would help successfully execute his intentions. While he handled the seal, the remaining group made their way through forest thickets. Though obeying Isabella completely, mercenaries remained unhappy with her decision abandoning their brother. Yet she remained relentless, hurrying while sensing time wasn't their ally. Suddenly, Elven Mage Celestine ordered everyone's halt. The warning proved appropriate. Momentarily, the evil they'd come visiting appeared before them. The sinister sorceress terrified even Isabella, horrifying that such powerful terror hid beneath a fragile, beautiful woman's guise. The sorceress seemed uninterested in attacking, merely circling the clearing. Yet the Duchess understood this feeling deceived. They needed preparation for confrontation. Isabella hoped years of containment still suppressed much evil power. Yet William's sudden death forced reconsideration of her beliefs. Only Thomas, Luna, and herself remained alive in the clearing. Her friend had betrayed them. When he removed his shirt, the Purifier cult's tattoo became visible on his chest. Isabella's appearance here was planned, revenge for evil's lengthy imprisonment. Thomas seriously considered himself the sorceress's son, hoping for her mercy. Yet his expectations proved vain. This creature knew only anger. One swift motion severed the youth's head. Caden approached the clearing, hurrying quickly, but unexpectedly met terrified Celestine. The elf begged escape together, explaining they'd been betrayed. Yet the prince had personal plans. He knew this sorceress's history and her violent path. Morgan simply loved torturing and killing enemies, even if it meant personal suffering. Isabella's appearance aroused the sorceress's curiosity, especially considering the woman's energetic immaturity. The Duchess had nothing opposing evil, so the city her ancestor built would be next listed. Anticipating quick meals, the sorceress prepared for murder. Yet unexpectedly, her plans were thwarted. Somehow, Isabella discovered extraordinary abilities through rage. She attacked evil's source with all possible power. Yet this proved insufficient. The Duchess's attack only caused the sorceress to smile. Morgan loved victims' suffering faces, especially when realizing effort's futility. Therefore, she decided showing her opponent her power. Through her wound, the sorceress released bloodthirsty wolf packs into the world. Isabella understood minimal time remained for resistance, so she decided acting, disabling wolves successively while avoiding claws. Yet from attack intensity, her weapon couldn't withstand and broke. Monsters rushed at the Duchess with increased enthusiasm. Isabella realized one chance remained for killing her opponent, so she flew skyward. She hoped for attack success as the sorceress lacked full strength. The Duchess transformed into lightning with Morgan somewhere below. Exhausting final strength, Isabella found herself grounded minutes later. The woman's condition was terrible. She coughed blood. Yet the attempt ending evil failed from the beginning. The sorceress remained unharmed. She'd been free many years. Everything guiding the mercenary squad was lies. This information completely devastated the Duchess, who surrendered morally entirely. Isabella didn't consider fleeing when more monsters began approaching to end her life. Unable to withstand such tension longer, the Duchess lost consciousness. At that moment, Caden finally emerged onto the lawn. The prince's arrival seemed the event Morgan most anticipated. She began approaching the hero, telling life stories while attempting to instill fear. Yet Caden was perfectly informed about her personality. Before him stood the absolute Death Queen, this empire's most powerful sorceress. Despite everything, the prince didn't understand why he should obey her orders and instructions. He wasn't planning to flee the Shadowwood Forest in terror. Moreover, he wouldn't die, confident in his abilities. Caden had plans for the sorceress, making her his slave. This idea occurred to the prince quite long ago. Given her capabilities, Caden considered this decision absolutely correct. Perhaps Isabella would share this fate, but only after her power's final awakening. When the prince voiced plans to his opponent, it only caused laughter. The sorceress attacked with all possible power, yet Caden had an ace. He threw the spell storage stone received from the spy toward her. The stone contained a surprise, Isabella's ancestor's spell, already well known to the sorceress. This spell would transport Morgan's and the prince's souls to another world for confrontation. That's why he'd searched for the evil seal in the forest earlier. The sorceress's attack ceased, but she noted perfect knowledge of his plans. Moreover, she'd willingly allowed them doing whatever pleased in the Shadowwood forest. Like everyone before, she believed his soul weaker than hers, therefore seeing no success. Through freedom years, the sorceress gained nearly infinite power, regularly strengthening with new murders. Caden wasn't completely certain of greater strength, but wanted risking. Only there would the prince discover if Theron Blackwood truly possessed a world-ruling king's soul. This information appeared periodically in the novel but wasn't clarified since the prince died initially. Morgan openly mocked her opponent's plans. She saw no worthy opponent, just another insect for crushing. The sorceress generated a giant dragon, sending it toward Caden. As usual, he didn't move. Morgan interpreted this as humility and defeat acceptance. Yet in premature joy, she didn't notice her hand suddenly vanishing alongside the dragon. The prince remained standing unharmed. In this world, he felt both his own power more clearly, as well as the Avatar soul's power he inhabited. Power feelings increased proportionally to unexpected despair in Morgan's eyes. The sorceress finally lost self-control. Throughout centuries lived on Earth, no human had withstood her thus. An opponent appeared truly stronger, causing the sorceress significant damage. Caden would have taken Morgan's life unhesitatingly, yet he needed the sorceress finally breaking. Because over years, invincibility ideas had deeply rooted in her mind. Judging by current reactions, she hadn't suspected possible injury. Gradually, Morgan's body parts dissolved into air successively. Finally, the powerful sorceress realized the youth before her wasn't a passing opponent. At one point, Morgan thought she might actually die now. This prompted begging Caden to stop torture. The sorceress loved her life above everything. Yet the prince remained unstoppable. He wanted gaining her power portion by killing such powerful opponents. Thanks to the spell used against her, this proved possible. In this world without physical shells, Morgan could die infinitely. Through incomprehensible torture, he aimed completely subjugating her will. Oddly, the prince needed little time executing intentions. Exhausted, Morgan lay grounded before him, begging mercy while Isabella hadn't awakened. He'd not only gained an ally, but prevented evil alliance formation. With the powerful death sorceress's awakening, the world expected nothing good, mildly stated. Though Morgan lost this battle, she harbored revenge desires deeply. She solemnly promised her new master revenge. Yet the monster in angelic form still didn't know him well. He remained completely uninfluenced. Caden knew his business well. The only promise he could make Morgan involved many potential victims. He knew saving this empire required eradicating many enemies. After rescue from Shadowwood Forest, Isabella tried slowly recovering. Her father worried greatly about her. 3 days were needed finding the mercenary squad she led, yet none could be found except her. Honestly, Duke Gabriel couldn't communicate with his daughter or answer questions. He understood Isabella berated herself for losing friends and subordinates, though he thought it wasn't her fault. The Duchess felt she should become stronger, at least honoring the fallen. Gradually, through suffering, Isabella became her destined self. Naturally, she doubted not the sorceress's survival and escape, so Isabella wished meeting her enemy again, avenging those taken. In memory's recesses remained Caden's image. She seemed seeing him before losing consciousness. For some reason, the Duchess felt his survival chances weren't so small. The Silver Eye Guild also finally received latest news. The report proved impressive, mildly stated. Vera was surprised by news of the Shadowwood Forest's disappearance. All evil simply left these places. This suggested the sorceress's elimination. Yet simultaneously, no confirmation existed for this conclusion. She inclined, believing this was their observation object's work. Though uncertain of his identity, judging by recent events, he proved incredibly strong. A direct imperial family descendant might have recently visited them. Every hero knew none in the Empire could compete with these real monsters. Vera requested all information known to the Guild about the observation object. From reports, she learned this person could only be captive Prince Theron Blackwood. Not just the Guild showed interest in the prince during absence. Marcus barely managed fending off Imperial Mage Squad Captain Victor's attacks. This time, the official wasn't satisfied with the guard's formal answers. He refused leaving without meeting the prince personally for signing important papers. Such imperial family activity worried Marcus. Bad feelings heightened since Theron himself had been absent nearly a week. The succession ceremony approached, requiring these papers' signatures. Since the captain received daily promises, he suspected the prince broke rules. He wanted proving the prince wasn't in his possessions. Through reasoning, Victor was third Prince Damien Blackwood's man, and his lord would appreciate this. Yet Marcus remained adamant, refusing the guest into his master's chambers. He underestimated the captain's impudence, who pushed everyone away, running upstairs. Anticipating victory, Victor opened Theron's chamber door without knocking, bursting inside. Reality proved cruel for the official. The prince was palace-bound, handling personal affairs. Caden glared at the captain, setting down his book. How he did this made Victor immediately begin apologizing for actions. The captain immediately sensed behavioral changes, as if completely different person. With incredible authority and self-respect, Caden took signature papers. When the uninvited guest departed, Marcus finally vented feelings. The guard worried greatly about his prince, demanding details. Recent events nearly deprived Caden of throne competition opportunity, but miraculously he managed. Now his immediate concern involved strengthening his avatar's body. Marcus followed Caden's instructions regarding the ogre heart Princess Alara gave him. Absorbing this artifact would help the body better cope with tearing force. Next day, mercenaries gathered in a capital tavern. They discussed fulfilling Third Prince's orders. Prince Theron's palace, according to predecessors' stories, was guarded by someone very powerful. Yet Prince Damien wouldn't abandon plans regardless. For mercenaries, the last money chance was the night before succession ceremony. While discussing details, men didn't immediately notice they weren't alone. Morgan slowly emerged from shadows, smilingly threatening those present with death. This naturally angered mercenaries, who rushed at the sorceress with weapons, intending elimination. Several murderers immediately became victims. They couldn't understand anything. Yet several managed running to the sorceress, decapitating her. They thought that ended the stranger's story. Yet Morgan disagreed, appearing moments later in restored form. Mercenaries realized facing a real monster, freezing with horror. The death sorceress claimed her first victims. In context, having a master wasn't so terrible. Night passed peacefully for Prince Theron. Many indirect descendants gathered for succession ceremony. Everyone desired fighting for the throne, even Cornelius Ashford, who'd never previously. Or Lyanna Ravencrest, whose appearance in this palace her brother hadn't expected. Everyone knew perfectly Theron Blackwood would compete, wanting revenge on him. A rare moment mocking a direct descendant, though considered trash and the Emperor family's disgrace. Even minor relatives supposedly had more charisma and ambition than the captive prince. The ceremony nearly began, but Theron still wasn't present, causing various gossip. Suddenly doors opened, all conversation silencing. A young man entered the selection hall, not matching lofty rumors about him. Caden cast watchful eyes over everyone present, announcing the ceremony could now begin. Though the prince prepared for trials by increasing strength, actually he didn't know exactly what would happen at this ceremony. The novel didn't describe it since Theron died initially, requiring caution. Caden understood others' attitudes toward his avatar, knowing he couldn't change it daily. Ceremony organizers announced test rules, wishing all participants success. En route to the observation room, one couldn't help making comparisons. The steward found such radical change from weakling to true royal personage strange. Prince Theron now seemed a worthy imperial family representative, mature and proud. However, despite striking changes, these trials meant his death. The third prince tried ensuring his brother became this trap's permanent prisoner. Participants rushed ahead toward the door opening the first test. Lyanna also succumbed to general panic, but paused last moment looking at Theron. He stood motionless, seeming unhurried entirely. Her brother's reminder brought her from thoughts. They needed going. When the last participant left the hall, Caden turned toward the door. He knew every step would be closely watched, meaning danger everywhere. First thing the prince heard entering the testing room was noise like splashing water. Man-eating bugs had been released against Caden, but this didn't frighten him. He'd managed increasing strength levels and strengthening his body, counting on such obstacles. Quickly overcoming the first test, the prince smiled. He didn't know what awaited next, but could imagine the guards' shocked faces. The next test was a giant maze at whose threshold a surprise also awaited. The Death Knight, magical undead, rushed toward him, preventing pathfinding. Using one cunning skill, he easily identified his opponent's weakness. Caden had already begun generating energy for destroying the knight. Yet guessing his next step, it instantly multiplied. This only caused smiling. The prince's enemies weren't yet distinguished by mental abilities. Caden finally confirmed previous suspicions. They wouldn't let him leave alive. Moreover, perhaps this applied to other participants. Since interference violated rules, the prince decided he too could ignore them. Death Knights raised swords, collectively running to attack the enemy. Caden stood bravely and firmly, fending off all attacks. Meanwhile, deeper in the maze, Leanna pondered how incredibly difficult these tests were. Only her disguise skills helped passing the first test. Now she ran from Death Knights. Succession ceremonies had never been thus. She hadn't participated in tests yet, but suspected foul play. Opponents proved very strong from the beginning. Turning another corner, she encountered Prince Theron, also fighting attackers. The sight made Leanna forget her own enemies. This direct imperial family descendant possessed considerable power. One could say undead themselves were easy prey for him, not vice versa. Watching the unparalleled fight, Leanna became convinced the prince hid powers. Despite fooling his entire family, Theron endured their bullying for years. Meanwhile, Caden decided creating an energy storm, dispelling Death Knight reinforcements. Upon completing his task, he eliminated the first enemy. Soon others began joining him. Undead tactics proved monotonous. Killing one meant another immediately attacked. Easy to calculate, the key was matching their speed. After handling the second challenge, Caden pitied other participants. They'd encountered serious trouble merely from his succession ceremony participation. The prince proved correct. Overseers gradually lost emotional control. Considering him weak target, they hadn't expected such outcomes. Theron's strength impressed. Despite troubles, Prince Damien's task required completion. Yet the person the chief overseer summoned was unavailable. Instead, Prince Theron himself stood in the room's doorway, wiping blood from his hand. While Caden handled succession, Prince Damien learned of his killer's deaths. More precisely, not death, but disappearance. Instead of bodies, only blood magic traces were found. Damien's main henchman, Sorcerer Roland, volunteered discovering more case details. The prince disliked the tight knot forming around Theron's case. Such worthless competition proved completely unacceptable to His Highness. The last chance for eliminating the irritant involved ceremony failure, which Damien emphasized. He didn't know at that moment his order's executors themselves faced death. The chief warden urged subordinates rushing to attack Prince Theron. Actually, he felt satisfied with this plot twist. The candidate's death would occur without unnecessary attention. Yet Caden saw this as good chance punishing death traitors for machinations. Despite fierce resistance, he effortlessly dodged any attacks. Overseers departed individually to another world, unable resisting such powerful force. Eventually, Caden tired of defending and repelling attacks, deciding offensive action. His opponent immediately activated a fiery protective shield from fear. The youth hoped this would protect from the attacker. Yet the prince destroyed hopes with one move. Flames harmed him not. Finally, the head warden realized the plan destroying Theron had failed. Failed from the beginning, as none knew the prince's pretended weakness. Caden approached the man, showing through appearance he was this empire's greatest predator. The frightened warden, unable bearing tension, immediately promised confessing everything. He'd readily betray even his own customers. Yet the prince didn't need this. He already knew their names. When Caden alone remained standing, he turned to one guard. He felt during murder some essence still remained inside the youth. The demon, immediately responding to challenge, like overseers, was surprised by the Blackwood descendant's power. Yet most surprising was his appearance, not surprising the prince. This prompted the monster, analyzing the opponent. Yet Caden wasn't moved for talking. He wanted ending evil. Terrified, Leanna ran through labyrinth corridors, searching for lost Theron Blackwood. She realized the powerful prince was her last survival chance. From fear around the next corner, she nearly killed Cornelius Ashford, but he dodged skillfully. Both relatives were surprised the other still lived. Cornelius felt very surprised by his sister's goal, finding Prince Theron. He didn't understand seeking a weakling. Yet she explained His Highness was a very powerful warrior. This greatly offended the proud brother. The angry demon, though giant, proved weaker than Morgan. Caden wouldn't engage him long, especially considering unwanted witnesses might arrive from noise. Lost in thoughts, the prince suddenly realized his opponent approached almost face to face. The fight proved short-lived and fatal for the evil spirit. Caden pierced the monster's chest with lightning movement, extracting evil's core. Even dying, the monster cursed Prince Theron's family. Busy fighting demons, Caden didn't immediately notice he wasn't alone. Leanna and Cornelius Ashford stood in the observation room's doorway. After witnessing this, Cornelius finally believed the almost supernatural power of the despised prince. He'd simply destroyed such powerful monster no human could resist. Despite newcomers' comments, Caden declared Leanna second winner after himself. Cornelius placed third in trials. Only 3 survived. As quickly as handling his enemy, Prince Theron left the Warden's Hall. Brother and sister looked at each other silently, ensuring this wasn't dreams. No need forcing them keeping events secret. Next morning, rested after a stressful ordeal, Caden already traveled to appointment. The Crystal Palace required special dress codes, so he changed clothes. The prince felt slightly unbalanced by Marcus's tearful farewells. Simultaneously, Seraphina, who'd eagerly broken engagement, seemed reconsidering. She even gave Caden a gift honoring successful test passage. Yet the lady wasn't the most cunning person in Theron Blackwood's palace. Now he observed Alara sitting beside him, not knowing what to expect. His sister refused letting him go alone. The lady warned she'd long felt changes in the Crystal Palace. Dark forces seemed competing among themselves for power. Blackwood clan members were pitted against each other. Alara worried about Theron's fate. Though he'd changed and strengthened, she still wished helping him. Yet Caden's goal involved seizing power throughout the Empire. Petty squabbles didn't interest him. Reaching their destination, Alara announced she'd leave him alone. Watching the vehicle's trail, he finally confirmed this woman wasn't his enemy. On the palace threshold, he met his new servant, Sebastian. Caden noticed very strong resemblance between this palace and his own in reality. The longer in this world, the less the prince believed such coincidences. With these thoughts, alongside his servant, he reached Emperor Aldrich's chambers. This long-suffering empire's ruler was gravely ill yet still alive. Aldrich raised heavy eyelids, looking at one descendant. He hadn't spoken yet, but the emperor already knew it was a different person. While Caden awaited very interesting conversation, Morgan approached one palace gate. She felt amazed her new master never lied throughout this time. Based on such considerations, the sorceress expected facing even more potential future victims. At the entrance, Emperor's guards blocked Morgan's road, demanding entry permission. The sorceress naturally lacked it, but insisted her master expected this visit. When guards asked her master's name, Morgan simply began describing the prince's appearance. She claimed not knowing his name, but everyone present knew him completely. Eventually, guards tired of this show, asking the woman to leave. Morgan, as if awaiting just this, quickly activated blood magic. Meanwhile, in the Emperor's chambers, Aldrich continued claiming Theron had changed. He saw with absolute clarity another entity inside his son. Nothing here changed so quickly, especially considering the Emperor orchestrated almost all assassination attempts against the prince. No less than Aldrich, Caden wondered who'd made him bedridden. Such questions overturned the Emperor's entire worldview. He'd considered the youth involved. He explained how the Shadow Kingdom emerged years ago. This caused war between them and humans, resulting in many heroes' emergence. Eventually, years passed, war became hidden. Not everyone understood shadows now among them. Evil penetrated the Empire's heart. No one could be trusted anymore. That's when Aldrich was poisoned. He couldn't trust even family. The Emperor suspected each descendant, therefore distancing them. Caden wouldn't hide plans. He honestly admitted his goal absorbing the entire Empire. This only caused the interlocutors smile. He'd agree to such future. The shadows and Aldrich's power didn't suit him. He advised the prince finding the phantoms. The secret organization the Emperor prepared for such events still existed, could prove useful. This valuable information Caden couldn't obtain from novel pages. He listened intently. Unexpectedly, the prince found an assistant in the old emperor. After meeting Aldrich, another reward awaited Theron for his ordeal, visiting the Celestial Vault treasury to which only Blackwood heirs had access. Incredible riches and the Empire's most valuable artifacts gathered there. Yet they weren't unattended. Steward named Marcus managed Celestial Vault. The youth immediately rushed, giving Prince Theron a tour. Like everyone passing tests, Caden could take one item for his disposal. The artifact must choose its owner, otherwise facing terrible death. From the novel, the prince knew cases when no artifacts chose descendants. Yet worth trying, he'd grown accustomed risking everything for goals. First catching Caden's eye was a sword with mythical power class, an unsurpassed artifact. Yet unexpectedly, his attention shifted to an object he hadn't expected seeing here. His own sword called Excalion. Though broken, it remained the Empire's most valuable artifact. Because belonging to the first emperor, the weapon instantly recognized its owner, even in another world. Another vehicle hurried to the Imperial Palace. Third Prince's sorcerer, Roland, analyzed recent unpleasant conversation with His Highness. Damien felt unhappy with test results. He also worried about all assassins' disappearance involved in operations against Prince Theron. Only one thing proved obvious. In the tavern, only blood magic traces remained. Suddenly, Roland's attention drew crowds of guards running toward one palace gate. The driver replied all commotion involved some unknown woman. She'd tried entering using blood magic. This unknown proved an extremely powerful sorceress, completely surprising guards. Roland found this information interesting. He decided visiting that gate, discovering more details. While everyone preoccupied with the unexpected invasion, Caden recalled Excalion's creation history. The sword was forged from fallen meteorite. Only the prince's strength could increase its power. Caden had one remaining question. How did such weapon break? Looking back at Marcus, the prince said he wanted taking this particular artifact from the vault. The steward looked with amazement and horror after the strangest imperial family representative. Fighting at imperial palace gates gained momentum. Guards despaired. Having extraordinary desire resisting uninvited guests, they couldn't succeed. Morgan easily scattered youths individually in different directions. The sorceress remembered Caden's order delaying killings but struggled, fighting not only enemies but herself. Suddenly, Morgan was pushed back by rock growing from ground in seconds. Flying safe distance, the sorceress saw transformation into stone giant. This artificial monster even managed stepping on Morgan with giant foot. The sorceress understood perfectly a powerful sorcerer backed this creature. She wasn't mistaken. Roland ordered guards stepping back, aiming his creature at the one who'd managed resurrection. Morgan felt delighted. She'd finally encountered an opponent allowing no self-limitation. She cared nothing for questions the third prince's sorcerer asked. She knew none of the organization names Roland mentioned. His questioning proved futile. The sorceress's impudent speech tone only further angered the court sorcerer. He believed easily handling the opponent. Morgan began enjoying this fight increasingly, ready forgetting promises. Everything ended as suddenly as began. Caden walked through the gate. He authoritatively ordered the sorceress stopping immediately. Shocked, Roland looked at the prince, unable recognizing the youth seen before. Theron looked like true emperor. Now all assassination attempt results became logical. Morgan cheerfully rushed toward Caden, loudly calling him master. Everything planned, ensuring none doubted Prince Theron orchestrated recent events. Caden looked back at present guards, announcing the sorceress would accompany him inside. This initially caused indignation, but under his commanding gaze, everyone bowed heads. Emphasizing status, the prince shifted focus to guards diligently executing his orders. Even Roland had to bow before His Highness. In Caden's opinion, everything proceeded optimally considering his plans. Returning home by vehicle, Morgan told him she'd done everything as agreed earlier. Generally, the sorceress managed more. No tasks remained, even additional ones. The third prince should now harbor no doubts about Prince Theron's capabilities. Roland would definitely tell his master everything seen and heard. Now remained only awaiting opponent's response. An unpleasant surprise. Seraphina still remained palace-bound. This woman lacked inhibitions. Yet she too felt shocked. The prince returned not alone but accompanied by some woman. Morgan wasn't one for silence, immediately declaring Prince Theron her master. Caden summoned Marcus, ordering despite objections, finally sending the lady home. This time Seraphina couldn't avoid her actions' consequences, though during time with Theron she'd genuinely grown fond of him. His personality's dark side worried the woman, forcing repeated thoughts about him. Meanwhile, the prince decided discussing current problems with his inner circle. He announced wanting to find the phantom organization Emperor Aldrich mentioned. For the prince's personal bodyguard, the problem involved finding this secret organization's location. Yet Caden already possessed approximate location information using novel chronicles. Despite this, he wanted awaiting some action from the emperor himself. Days passed. All throne heirs received messages about urgent palace meetings. Alara looked suspiciously at those present. She understood no family ties obstructed them. Fifth Princess Arya habitually began attacking the third prince. This was her favorite hobby during all general meetings. She didn't respect Prince Theron but felt Damien's behavior also unacceptable. His name alone drove the third prince crazy, seeming very entertaining pastime to her. Theron's test passage made even the fourth prince doubt. Garrett and Arya agreed this wretch might not be their assumptions. Yet naturally, despite all arguments, personal ego outweighed everything. The prince's siblings believed they could easily crush him if he crossed boundaries. Alara couldn't tolerate relatives' audacity, defending Theron. matters nearly escalated, yet interrupted by Caden's appearance with Morgan following like elusive shadow. The prince carefully examined all Theron's family members. Yet this didn't last. Damien couldn't keep quiet. Garrett seemed defending Theron, but the prince saw deceptive impressions. Arya, meanwhile, meticulously studied the newcomer's behavior. Despite drastic changes, Prince Theron posed no threat in her opinion. Though Caden arrived late for reception, he noticed Emperor Aldrich also wasn't present. He thought such delay connected with his promised assistance. Morgan, meanwhile, slowly went mad. Surrounding power intoxicated the sorceress. She longed, unleashing killing desires, eliminating her master's enemies. Yet Caden knew such goals exceeded her capabilities, especially if attacking simultaneously. The prolonged silence suddenly interrupted by Garrett proposing a duel. He felt very interested, testing Theron's abilities, comparing with rumors. Arya immediately supported this proposal, decided the prince would fight His Highness's men. Damien mockingly suggested using his servant first. To Alara's surprise, worrying about events' turn, her brother immediately agreed to terms. Yet Caden suggested real combat instead of mere sparring. This displeased Garrett. He hadn't expected proposal approval. Alara and Morgan tried dissuading him from suicide, one for personal benefit, another for greater good. Meanwhile, Damien nearly celebrated victory. The prince always enjoyed humiliating his brother. Garrett announced the fight's start, everyone present focusing on opponents standing centrally. Alara hadn't time blinking when the fight ended. The third prince's servant's head lay at Damien's feet, mockery from Theron. He felt unpleasantly impressed by his brother's agility, killing with bare hands. Caden turned to the third prince smiling, demanding real duel. The fight would have occurred seconds later, but the emperor's appearance prevented it. Everyone present respectfully bowed before his majesty. Aldrich looked at each descendant, announcing he'd proceed directly. After a brief pause, he named his heir, Theron Blackwood. Such important announcement improved Caden's plans. He hadn't expected this. Yet he understood perfectly those present wouldn't agree with the Emperor's will. As expected, first expressing outrage was the third prince, followed by Garrett. Arya even reminded Aldrich of Theron's hierarchical position within the imperial family. Only Alara inquired about this decision's reasoning. The Emperor remained laconic. In his view, no worthier ruler could be imagined. This answer instantly unbalanced Damien. He stood ready, killing Theron immediately. Arya proved more cunning. Understanding arguments led nowhere. The lady decided offering an option seemingly not opposing the Emperor, yet realistically, if successful, would eliminate a competitor. Arya reminded everyone of the country's opinion regarding Prince Theron. Logically, citizens would express outrage learning of such governor appointment. Therefore, she suggested Theron prove his competence. The ordeal of 7 great calamities seemed worthy of the imperial throne in her view. Caden truly expected nothing else. For some reason, he felt especially pleased by sudden joy on Damien and Garrett's faces. The prince announced agreement to the terms. Yet after this ordeal, his relative's turn would arrive. Following the Imperial Palace meeting, Caden spent entire Sunday training. A broken sword proved poor ally, especially at this self-improvement stage. Finding the other half somewhere would benefit greatly, because forceful manifestation could currently lead to critical consequences. Despite difficulties, Excalion provided buffs for some of Caden's skills. The prince understood main emphasis now required personal upgrade focus. Any second-stage development technique put the body in poor condition. Caden decided attempting lunar eclipse causation. Solar would lack sufficient energy. Surprisingly, he managed without special stress. Caden gradually learned enjoying small things in this body, though initially very difficult. While he honed skills, Princess Arya also wasted no time. She understood he'd gradually become an obstacle without addressing this problem now. Yet more urgent matters involved searching for shadows whom she'd recently learned about. Her people hadn't found the center. They merely stumbled upon the organization's tail. Even such news pleased the lady. She could pull that tail. She already mentally calculated next steps, considering herself smartest. After training, Caden also decided addressing the Phantom issue, visiting the Palace Memorial Hall. Among busts and portraits, he found one impressing him most. The painting depicted the first emperor named Caden Blackwood. Moreover, sharing the youth's name, the lord was also excavated from outside. This hardly surprised the prince after his reality's sword appeared. He slowly entered this world as if always belonging here. The prince's thoughts were interrupted by a female voice. She introduced herself as Victoria Sterling. The museum curator hadn't expected Theron's interest. Victoria felt proud of her work. Here one could learn more about Empire history. Seizing the moment, he inquired about the Phantom Organization. When she began explaining information as if unrelated to her, Caden interrupted. He knew perfectly Victoria Sterling led the Phantom Organization, the so-called Empire's Eyes. After his remarks, the museum curator's expression changed, ordering him to follow. No longer hiding identity, she remarked, expecting the prince here. Victoria explained their organization acts only in Empire interests with free will, so they'd been observing Theron and his metamorphoses. Despite being named successor, the prince must prove posing no threat. Countless swords aimed at Caden, testing his soul's purity. This proved a rather interesting move from a secret Imperial organization representative. Dodging the first attack, the prince saw behind him multiple knights. When descending from pedestals, he realized these were clay golems. Caden definitely dodged any attacks from them. He handled the challenge quite quickly, unexpected for organization members. Victoria couldn't believe her eyes' testimony. Before her stood incredibly fast, powerful fighter, unafraid of challenges. Having handled all Hall opponents, he finally turned attention to the curtain. A magical barrier separated him from the Phantom's guardians. Yet the prince decided truly showing capabilities. One attack broke the protective barrier. His strength resembled nothing else. Entering the hall's other half, he immediately approached one organization member. Without explaining anything, Caden delivered a stunning blow with one movement. He remembered from the novel many demons existed among Phantom members. This case proved no exception. The monster immediately manifested. To enhance abilities, Caden grabbed Excalion. The demon hadn't managed moving before the prince eradicated him from this world. Looking back at Phantom members, he saw them kneeling, acknowledging their lord. For them, the prince became not merely the Emperor's viceroy, but Eternal's viceroy. The organization was founded by the very first Emperor, Caden Blackwood. For these people, he undoubtedly represented their lord's soul reincarnation. Excalion's appearance in his hands became the decisive argument. This sword obeyed only Caden Blackwood, whom he actually was. Realizing this benefited him, the prince said he'd provide the list. This list would contain possessed names within the organization's ranks. In exchange, Caden received information about Arya's Phantom involvement. The lady found one branch, attempting exposure. Yet lacking people, they needed time covering tracks. Prince Theron kindly agreed, helping this regard without details. That very night, Morgan met her next victims. The Death Sorceress grew increasingly fond of her generous master. Morning arrived, Morgan reporting to Caden about successfully completed assignment. Actually, she approached any matter very carefully, considering smallest details. The prince truly appreciated this approach. Right now, small things held more significance than the whole. Princess Arya paid attention to exactly these. One nuance would lead her straight to Damien. Thus, Caden wanted turning relatives against each other, eliminating competition and backstabbing. Victoria volunteered checking all new servants in the lady's palace for spies. Yet this wasn't His Highness's priority. Sometime after lunch, Princess Arya finally learned her entire unit's destruction. Initially, she thought Phantom Organization members' work. Yet the squad of best fighters hadn't reached desired location. Everything resembled a trap, most infuriating Arya. Simultaneously, blood magic traces pointed to Prince Theron's ward. This sorceress recently raised eyebrows in the Emperor's palace. Yet some evidence also indicated Third Prince Damien's sorcerer. Roland loved using summoning magic. The lady believed Damien's human involvement version within seconds planned. Days later, Theron and Morgan departed, executing the Emperor's test. Local residents brought to palace as extras made disparaging comments about the prince's abilities. Sorcerer Roland naturally attended among them, later comforting his master's ego. Naturally, hearing negative self-commentary proved unpleasant, but Caden knew quick fixes existed. Alara decided not personally bidding her brother farewell this time. She watched distantly. The lady hadn't abandoned protecting him remotely. This made her calmer. When Theron departed, Roland came for Third Prince audience. The sorcerer recently leaned toward the object, finding help in black magic. Such changes couldn't occur independently. Eerie energy around Theron especially striking. Roland felt certain demons influenced this matter. After hearing his subordinate's report, Damien wasn't hurrying 100% reliance. This serious accusation still required proof. The fine line between diminishing imperial family authority and eliminating competitors proved troubling. Yet Roland had already sent thugs after Theron to handle the prince outside capital without attracting attention. These two didn't know before leaving capital the prince decided visiting one place. The Silver Eye Guild, represented by Vera, solemnly welcomed Caden this time. They'd done truly excellent work during his absence. She thought Prince Theron came here discovering information about the Spectre Legion. This problem required addressing immediately. Yet he knew well where searching. Caden's participation changed the novel's plot. This time, the prince sought information about the most powerful people after Emperor. He didn't yet know his knowledge's outcome for those objects. Finally, Caden requested sending the spy who'd previously followed him. The woman's name was Sophia. Vera seized opportunity discovering Shadowwood Forest events, especially catching sight of the woman standing behind His Highness's shoulder. Caden wouldn't answer, though seeing his interlocutor's correctness. From his expressive expression, she realized paying high price for this knowledge. The village where Prince Theron and companion now traveled lived independently. No residents suspected awaiting trouble. Marcus always tried fighting off the youth wanting sword lessons from him. Even for money, he no longer wished involvement in any violence manifestations. None in this village knew his real name and former regalia. He'd buried the past. The youth meanwhile tried protecting his mother, hence such persistence. This place proved so remote that Law's letter didn't approach here, so relying only on personal strength remained. The youth's thoughts about personal future were interrupted by strange man and woman's appearance, not locals. Marcus, meanwhile, sighed relieved. This youth reminded him of first love. He'd never thought their paths would cross again until now. He was her son. Lost in memories, he looked around, seeing a stranger observing him. Hair color, which Caden didn't hide, betrayed Imperial family membership. The prince introduced himself as Theron Blackwood, wanting immediate business. His Highness planned meeting Marcus, getting him working for him. He reported this village faced great danger. Under such conditions, he'd readily help save people from trouble. Yet Marcus remained steadfast in oath. He resolutely refused the offer. Caden didn't attempt persuading the man. To Morgan's surprise, he simply left. He did this believing the warrior would eventually come independently. Danger awaited the prince and sorceress again around corners. The third prince's assassin squad hurried executing orders. While Morgan handled pawns, Caden sought their leader. Moments later, he stood near the woman, claiming her life. Two nearby attackers pounced on the prince, protecting her. Yet he activated power, seconds later killing the first. Those squad members still alive decided confrontation proved unequal. They needed fleeing. Yet their plan wouldn't succeed. The prince wouldn't release them easily. When fighting ended, Sophia joined Caden and Morgan. She reported demon group location awaiting proper attack timing. The youth observing events rushed home, warning locals. Meanwhile, Caden agreed on action plans with his group members. Demons watched the village from nearby hill. They came for a specific person. Marcus, formerly known as Spectre King, settled in this wilderness as prime evil target. Monsters sensed operation success. They had reinforcements. The intermediate chief held coordinates summoning the Spectral Legion. Against Evil Spirit Army, one person, even like Marcus, couldn't stand. However, monsters knew about Prince Theron's mission, yet they didn't consider him worthy opponent. Though under surveillance after Hell agents began disappearing from Imperial Palace, imagining Theron single-handedly destroying colleagues proved difficult. Yet the prince's hill appearance radically changed perception. More than anything, Caden wondered where monsters had information about latest Empire Heart events. Meanwhile, lawlessness reigned village-wide, peaceful residents tortured and killed. No matter how quickly the youth tried warning friends, it proved insufficient. Unable standing watching such horrific invasion, he rushed defending. Yet his attempt failed immediately. Easy prey, never learning combat. The capturing mercenary threatened disfiguring the youth's face. Rescue came unexpectedly. Marcus punched the bandit's face, grounding him. He still remembered well comrades' words dying in last battle. They wanted Captain living long, happy life, leaving service. Yet now Marcus clearly understood he couldn't stand aside, ignoring lawlessness. Hill demons didn't realize the Spectre King began fighting their minions. They felt confused by Prince Blackwood's appearance and his revealed power. Besides reality rumor inconsistency, Theron knew more about them than appropriate. Caden understood these monsters proved stronger. He couldn't handle all alone. When three rushed simultaneously, the prince decided no choice remained but activating Excalion. This sword's advantage lay in enhancing abilities. Best helper in this situation. Indeed, first attack easily repelled with several swings. When confusion arose among opponents, Caden decided exploiting it. He approached one demoness, striking with sword. The wound proved fatal. Yet this caused two other henchmen's activation. They simultaneously rushed at the youth with almost no strength remaining holding blade energy. Resistance proved fierce. Demons realized attacking alone impossible, acting tandem. While one distracted the prince with skills, another sneaked from behind. Yet all attempts proved vain precisely because, acting quickly, Caden's barrier still functioned. Time running out, he decided counterattacking. He caught one demon seeming the group leader, neutralizing him. Another monster released dark energy stream toward the prince, so massive he gathered all-strength repelling attack. With quick counterattack, he claimed opponent's life. The demon group leader felt amazed by the disgraced prince's skill. This unknown power caused fear. In memory, only the Eternal Emperor possessed such unique, impressive abilities. This guess prompted the monster escaping, reporting to management. Yet Caden had other plans for him. Realizing real trouble, the Horned One summoned Spectral Legion assistance. He didn't understand the prince expected this. Now he didn't need the demon. Meanwhile, in village, frightened youth couldn't believe his protector was same Marcus. Attackers also felt impressed by the stranger's abilities. One recognized the stranger as the hero once ending demon fighting. Unpleasant surprise. None warned about confronting the Spectre King. Yet too late fleeing, no option remained but fighting to end. Marcus defended using only hands, his fists stronger than any magical weapon. Murderers felt this well. The Spectre King remembered Prince Theron's words about village attack. Blackwood knew what would happen. Yet what Marcus saw didn't resemble simple robbers. A giant barrier separated their village from remaining world, meaning one thing. They're isolated because the Spectral Legion would soon begin invasion. Marcus knew insufficient strength stopping such horde alone, yet no choice. Despite local residents' persuasion, he decided standing defensive until last moment. In final seconds before attack, Morgan stopped him, appearing from nowhere. She requested leaving prey to her. The sorceress craved new victims. Seconds later, she unleashed all monsters capable of creating into world. The bestial army stood ready, confronting invasion. Thus began village war, one sorceress facing entire army. Yet Caden wouldn't leave his ward alone. He easily broke through magical barrier. The prince landed far from fighting, carefully assessing situation. He soon found the Legion head among crowds, this leader he needed. Realizing her master needed advancing, the sorceress decided clearing his path. She activated blood magic, simply incinerating any too close opponents. Caden mounted the horse Morgan created, galloping toward the cursed Spectral Legion King. What he needed most in this ordeal was Kronos' weapon. This required personally confronting these magical creatures. The prince raced with all possible speed. The enemy, seeing him, did likewise. Seconds later, their swords touched together. The cursed king and Caden flew past each other, causing no harm. Yet the prince wouldn't stop there. He immediately turned back despite fierce resistance. Everyone meeting his path dissolved in Excalian's energy. Caden generated increasing energy to destroy maximum enemies with one blow, finally seeing desired goal again. Powerful light shone everywhere as cursed king and prince crossed swords again. Impact force shattered Kronos' weapon into pieces in the Spectral Legion leader's hands. Yet Caden wouldn't stop or let him breathe. He concentrated maximum available power into his blade, yet approaching the enemy closest. It suddenly changed trajectory, soaring skyward. This slightly confused the evil ghost. Yet briefly, the prince unexpectedly attacked from another side. Seconds later, he repeated maneuver, attempting another strike. Yet the cursed king foresaw this development, stopping Excalian with bare hand. He pushed Caden away, counterattacking. He barely oriented, dodging the blow timely. Suddenly, the Spectral Legion leader said he'd expected Prince Theron's arrival. He would lift the curse, but somehow proved too weak doing so. Caden himself understood such opponent proved too strong. The prince had one winning method, no time wasting. He took action. The squad members Alara sent following her brother just reached the village. They felt dissatisfied with their task, because it couldn't bring additional victories or adventures. Yet everything changed when warriors saw a protective barrier before them. The prince, meanwhile, unleashed all power and skill using his sword, as if Excalian became his hand's extension. With incredible speed, Caden struck his opponent. Resulting from such attack, the cursed king's weapon-holding hand fell groundward. The lunar eclipse the prince caused sufficed handling this evil level. Only this powerful Caden technique proved available at this ability development stage. Yet the cursed king wouldn't stop. He grabbed sword with other hand. The prince blocked possible attack direction with lightning speed. From now, the opponent could no longer consider him weaker. He'd received worthy beating. Alara's squad understood the prince they should follow trapped within this barrier. Ultimately, little choice remained. Warriors began fighting inside. Magic proved so powerful, several hits required before barrier cracked. After much effort, they finally managed entering. Squad members' surprise knew no bounds, seeing real war occurring there. Even more surprise and concern caused the prince's duel spectacle with Cursed King. Caden moved too fast for opponent, barely parrying blows. Ultimately, the prince wounded the ghost. No matter his responsive anger, he couldn't successfully counterattack. Finally, Caden even managed hitting opponent's head. He understood well lunar eclipse time limited, therefore requiring faster action. This person's behavior made the Cursed King ponder her nature. Ultimately, he recognized Caden might possess power, freeing them from curse. This meant the prince would only endure one final test. He'd be recognized if surviving the blow. Blue flame erupting from Kronos' weapon illuminated Earth to horizon, breaking through confining barrier. Same second, Caden attacked his opponent. The Cursed King seemed waiting eternally for a warrior ending his misery. Everyone present witnessed incredible spectacle. Excalion absorbed all Kronos' weapon's powerful energy in seconds. Moreover, Caden seemed even controlling this energy to personal advantage. The Cursed King knelt before the prince. He felt sincerely grateful for courage, from now wanting only rest. The Spectral Legion destroyed. So pursuing reward remained necessary. A guard awaited Caden at portal's other end. He felt surprised the prince wasn't the hero destined receiving reward for these exploits. This meant only one thing. World's fate had been rewritten. Somehow, Caden interfered with time flow, arriving much earlier than meant. As if God-ranked creature interfered with the chronicle. Caden himself aroused suspicion. The guard saw no fate. The hero wasn't from this world. Yet, according to this place's rules, the prince must receive reward regardless. He gave the youth a bracelet symbolizing Kronos' 5 questions. Each 5 stones possessed natural disaster power, making the artifact extremely powerful. The 5th stone would appear when he activated Receive Spectral Legion coordinates. This strange time temple dialogue only confused Caden. He didn't understand his nature. While Prince Theron received village reward, Alara's squad didn't understand what they'd witnessed. The disgraced Emperor Viceroy's power proved, without exaggeration, impressive. Morgan, finishing with enemies, turned attention to strangers. She wasn't opposed to killing someone else. Yet they replied coming here protecting the prince, not fighting him. Marcus also decided joining conversation, causing confusion with appearance. He explained the prince and Morgan together handled enemy invasion. While knights demanded details from one idol, the sorceress worried about Master's fate. Yet Caden unexpectedly returned. The prince felt squeezed like lemon, urgently needing rest. So everyone present postponed all questions until better times. Days later, Prince Theron alongside Alara's knights already left the village. Residents respectfully lined seeing off their savior, led by Marcus. He solemnly announced from now wishing joining His Highness. Yet Caden didn't need the Spectre King around yet. He wanted saving this warrior for full-scale Dark Forces battle. Marcus felt so grateful to the prince, agreeing with decision unhesitatingly. Next day, the Silver Eye Guild received news from Spy Sophia. The Spectral Legion's disappearance seriously surprised Vera. None knew certainly what exactly happened there, yet Prince Theron emerged victorious again. Even better, none except guild and event participants knew what occurred. Theron Blackwood currently traveled capitalward. Therefore, Vera needed hurrying obtaining information he'd requested. Besides current tasks, she worried about some unknown hero's appearance. Rumors spread empire-wide with incredible speed, even outpacing guild agents. Evening arrived, the prince finally reached his estate, immediately training. Caden tried breaking through his ceiling, reaching 3rd self-improvement level. Yet all attempts proved vain thus far. Prince Theron's body wasn't designed for such powerful force. Suddenly, Seraphina interrupted training. This time she hadn't come spying. The lady realized wanting usefulness to Theron, helping somehow. Yet Caden reacted quite sharply negative to her proposal. He believed her abilities weren't yet sufficient in trusting anything serious. He wanted Seraphina beginning active self-improvement. This woman, like the Empire overall, needed more efforts, changing destiny. After hearing His Highness's instructions, the lady left the hall. Victoria and Sophia visited Caden in her place. The Phantom intended warning Theron of Prince Damien's and henchmen's intentions. They planned something against the governor at coronation ceremony. Yet this didn't frighten Caden. He expected Damien wasting no time taking action. Victoria completed all assignments fully, not particularly confident in positive outcomes. Unlike Morgan, who longed joining her master. Yet this time, Caden's opinion, the sorceress should stay home. Before night ended, she must do something else achieving his goal. Several days passed preparing coronation ceremony. Finally, the solemn day arrived. All nobility and imperial family members gathered in throne room. Roland signaled his master everything ready for their plan. Taking advantage of Theron's late arrival, those present began discussing incredible gossip about him. Alara's help wasn't in Caden's favor. The detachment's village presence considered additional force. Yet all conspiracy theories silenced when the throne regent's arrival announced. Prince Theron paid no particular attention to anyone. He walked briskly to his seat. Yet his incredible energy made those present hold breath, especially those seeing the prince first time. Caden felt no need swaying any room people to his side. He only cared about the plan and coronation ceremony itself. Arya, attempting small talk with him, felt shocked by this attitude. Finally, the start announced, Prince Theron invited to podium. The bishop began reading ritual speech, but suddenly interrupted by one presence voice, none other than Roland. The third prince's sorcerer began discussing suspicions about ceremony legitimacy. He believed Prince Theron's sudden changes resulted from dark magic, because such striking transformation couldn't achieve so quickly. Prince Damien approached Roland surprised, pretending hearing first time. The sorcerer decided adding weight to words. He shouted certainty Theron made deals with evil forces. Making throne room fuss, Roland began insisting this information needed verification. Therefore, the coronation ceremony required postponement. Seconds later, church order members joined the crowd. The sorcerer summoned them, testing his hypothesis. He wanted performing demon exposure ritual before everyone, so the prince couldn't escape consequences. Roland noted knowing what would happen if falsely accused. Yet detaining the governor, he felt confident in righteousness. Church order members began reciting manifestation spell. Caden offered no resistance. He remained absolutely calm. Roland felt certain he couldn't bypass this spell. If demon truly inside the prince, surrounding light should extinguish. Yet when ritual ended, no changes occurred. Initially, Prince Damien didn't realize falling into self-set trap. Roland, meanwhile, prepared imprisoning the owner's pitiful competitor. Yet light didn't fade. Conversely, became increasingly brighter. Prince Theron emerged from it unharmed, completely unchanged. Surprised customers didn't know reacting to events. Everyone trusted the court sorcerer completely. This exactly what Caden expected from enemies. He believed one shouldn't prevent people digging own graves. Seconds later, the conspirator group arrested. Now none could make Roland escape punishment. At this moment, Arya understood her brother's strange behavior. He proved more cunning than many. This man no longer weak, disgraced youth fighting for miserable life. The third prince's sorcerer proved right about one thing. Such changes didn't occur independently. When conspiracy exposed, coronation ceremony continued. Minutes later, Theron Blackwood solemnly proclaimed Emperor Aldrich's heir. The third prince barely restrained from tearing vile competitor apart immediately. This sight made Arya smile delightedly. She hated most when Damien felt happy. As silently appeared, the throne's official region quickly left Coronation Hall. A hungry sorceress awaited him home, needing important task completion. Caden gave Morgan the Crimson Tower location coordinates. Surprised she didn't understand needing this information, yet the prince planned Morgan conquering this magical fortress herself. Sitting prison-shackled, Roland berated himself for short-sightedness. Theron proved more cunning. He managed fooling everyone despite evidence. Now the sorcerer faced death penalty for his act tantamount to treason. Roland hoped for third prince intervention. Just as thinking, Damien approached the bars. Yet the prince didn't appear defending his faithful servant, quite opposite. He clarified from now Roland could rely only on personal strength. Shocked by such betrayal, the sorcerer didn't know what saying. His master, whom the sorcerer served faithfully all years, proved disgusting scoundrel. Compensating unspeakable rage, Prince Damien descended into his estate's casemates. His Highness so whipped prisoners and own men they couldn't rise. From that moment, the prince swore personally handling Theron's fate. He walked, contemplating next actions, past prisoners begging Damien for death. Meanwhile, far from capital, two demons discussed colleagues' sudden disappearance. Very few knew about original Legion plans. Prince Theron's appearance there suggested secret leverage in this fight. Seemed all accumulated information about him only misled everyone. They also worried about their agent's fate in university's magical tower, where the prince intended visiting. Decided notifying him so Demon behaved more carefully, avoiding exposure. Next day, Professor Aldwin met Prince Theron at university. He was magic teacher, not too lazy kindly informing. Naturally, Seraphina studied at this university. At this time, she walked anxiously through corridors, pondering the prince's words. Suddenly, her attention drew student crowds watching someone intently. When she approached windows seeing the excitement's object, felt very surprised. In the educational institution's courtyard stood Prince Theron himself. Caden immediately announced intention inspecting the magic tower. He didn't visit this location randomly today. He wanted changing history. Reaching the lecture hall door, he asked attending the magician's lecture held there. Professor Aldwin initially felt somewhat confused, yet Caden insisted on his desire, refusing any denials. Opening door, he immediately surveyed the amphitheater with students. Among young magicians, he immediately saw the needed person. The youth's name was Ethan, unaware of his glorious future. One day, he'd become the first powerful legendary hero called the Whisperer. This man, the Empire's most powerful magician, would become future hero's best friend, yet now only beginning his journey. In the novel, he met resistance members too late tipping humanity's scales. Little time remained revealing himself in this team, leading to war loss. Caden's opinion, this caused the Empire's fall, which he wanted fixing today. Since the prince himself was here, two methods existed. He decided doing both simultaneously, continue absorbing Empire while helping its hero. Sometime later, the professor concluding lecture asked if students had anything saying. One young man replied, wanting something asked, yet only wanted hearing answer from Prince Theron present at lecture. He inclined to majority opinion, Imperial family members more knowledgeable about everything. Therefore, curious about Theron's opinion regarding formula, the professor wrote on board. Current magic level didn't allow solving this problem, so any suggestions welcomed. In reality, the red-haired schemer was motivated by Seraphina. He felt outraged by the prince's marriage refusal. The professor tried tactfully refusing the student, but Theron interrupted. He kindly agreed, presenting his thoughts for everyone viewing. After several minutes, students even forgot breathing. The formula sought connection between space-time and magic, very interesting to Ethan. Therefore, Caden decided recreating it from novel memory. As expected, the youth kept watching him. This great magician discovered it in Chronicles. This direction is passion. Now revealing her secret, the prince turned history for future humanity's benefit. Yet the spectacular solution to complex tasks interested not only Ethan. The professor felt fascinated, wanting immediate work on this interesting theory. The only person conversely falling into despair from new knowledge was Seraphina. She finally lost faith in personal abilities facing Prince Theron's capabilities. Not wanting further dialogue participation, Caden exited the audience. After leaving lecture, the prince ascended to the master's office. Chancellor Edmund Blackstone soon joined him, apologizing for lateness. Whatever Chronicles called him, this man ranked among world's most powerful. He assured the prince family reasons delayed him, yet everyone knew he'd renounced family, only interested in university. Noticing this, Caden decided immediately stating his visit's reason. Yet Edmund interrupted. He'd previously met Prince Theron, so immediately realized his essence had changed. Yet Caden wouldn't reveal his soul's secret. He skillfully avoided answering. This forced the master immediately apologizing for impudence, getting to business. Caden needed the peculiar healer, improved magic circle, and Edmund's personal help. Because Theron's body proved too weak, the peculiar healer's abilities became necessity. Yet this master healer maintained world contact through several people, including the master. Edmund didn't contradict the prince's first two wishes but refused the last. He couldn't break his oath attending nothing except university. Yet Caden had strong argument here. The master's help directly concerned the magic tower. Also, one matter the prince wanted resolving could help strengthen institution's magic. An hour after class ended, Ethan was summoned by Professor Aldwin. Though the student ascended to challenge, his mind completely occupied Prince Theron's formula. Ethan had many questions for His Highness. Only when closing the classroom door did he see student body mountain on floor. Professor Aldwin's entire office permeated demonic energy. Yet when Ethan realized this could trap requiring escape, Aldwin opened the door. When the young wizard saw other teachers behind Professor, he realized Aldwin's involvement. Naturally, Ethan's situation looked very bad. He appeared murderous. Demonic energy on his hand suggested evil possession. He understood nothing good could emerge from this situation but couldn't think what doing. Teachers demanded voluntary surrender, but Ethan only wanted escaping. He correctly assessed situation. Professor Aldwin orchestrated everything. The professor felt incredibly self-pleased. 15 minutes ago, he'd invited several students from Ethan's stream to classroom. He handled them quite quickly. They hadn't time understanding anything, let alone defending. The demon enjoyed real meat-grinder spectacle in young men's screams. The trap for future legendary sorcerer worked optimally. He followed leadership's plan. Yet Aldwin's joy proved premature as Prince Theron entered the room. The organization had warned about this disgraced subject, but he thought being cautious. The demon tried preventing the principal reaching audience, but reaction unexpected. The prince abruptly drew Excalion, decapitating Professor Aldwin before everyone. None could understand events, but speaking against Imperial family proved irrational. Caden ran sword over dead man's back, explaining nothing. He knew little time remained before true demonic entity appeared. The magic circle Edmund strengthened minutes ago would contain enemy power. The prince barely finished work when mighty monster broke from shell. Astonished professors never suspected such creature among them. The monster threatened Prince Theron with reprisals for exposure. He rushed forward wanting shredding. Yet Caden managed activating Lunar Eclipse, the only powerful technique currently available. Two opponents met in fierce duel. They weren't inferior, amazing sight. Attack after attack rained on Prince, yet he managed blocking quite successfully. The demon felt angry, mostly because caught in personal arrogance. His fist met Excalion's blade, evil force so powerful the sword began crumbling. Magic Tower wizards hid behind protective barrier just in case. They understood nothing could help Prince Theron currently. The Viceroy's strength and courage made magicians hold breath. Though the monster proved extremely powerful opponent, Caden's goal involved detention. He simply wanted proving to Edmund he could trust him. Grabbing Demon's shoulders, the prince threw him against wall with all might. The prince continued restraining monster with all strength, not thinking about condition. The master entered unexpectedly and quietly, but seeing furious confrontation became furious. Demon energy strength disappeared proportionally to Edmund's approach to Prince. In anger, the great magician could erase entire city with power, not some evil creature. Now this pitiful monster endangered his university students' lives. No matter how enemy spy tried hitting Master, attempts proved vain. He held back flames. Edmund gradually approached Professor Aldwin's true incarnation. Finally approaching, he touched Monster's limb with finger. This caused incredible demon pain, who urgently decided fleeing. Yet Caden stood guard, calculating trajectory. With lightning strike, the prince struck Dark Spirit using Excalion. Thus another Demon King spy died ingloriously. Professors and Ethan looked at Prince Theron as some messiah. Caden himself felt pleased his actions accelerated future magician-hero meeting. When clear none present injured, Edmund calmed slightly. Remembering Prince's request, the master insisted keeping events secret. Most interested the sorcerer in what he should do, given such opponent's presence. Yet Caden remained consistent. He wanted same three things as initially. After master meeting while leaving university, he met Ethan again. The youth demanded answers to questions. Yet the prince wouldn't reveal future secrets. He believed time would place everything correctly. Having friend from Hero's team could prove useful future. Yet the youth wasn't worth effort yet. Meeting the prince overturned Ethan's worldview. Despite spontaneity's false impression, Theron's actions proved completely deliberate. To prove worthy conversing with such person, Ethan decided self-improvement. Magical Tower spy clash exhausted Avatar Caden's last strength. More than ever, the prince needed the peculiar healer's help. Yet thanks to recent events, he could approach third development stage. After final restoration of Theron Blackwood's body, Caden sought finally conquering this milestone. Victoria and Marcus already awaited the prince at estate. They preferred His Highness resting, yet regardless prepared everything necessary. Caden's plans proved ambitious, disallowing respite. Meanwhile, Arya sat office-bound thinking about brother and Excalion's unexpected appearance in his arms. She knew sword history well, wasn't surprised by surrounding lack of reaction. Limited people had vault access, understanding these weapons' essence. She didn't want Prince Theron becoming all-time hero. For these reasons, the prince decided observing him more closely. She felt certain he couldn't attend national issues meeting, yet who knows? Meeting participation required council members' support. No people loyal to Prince existed. Yet, judging by brother's temperament, the lady understood this state could change quickly. She habitually prepared for all possible options. A vehicle with respectable passenger moved along capital's night roads. Local aristocrat Lord Harrison Vale anticipated quick profit. Though maintaining neutrality, money changed that before every national issues meeting. Today wondering whose side he'd readily lean toward. Harrison's greedy thoughts interrupted by stranger's road appearance. The aristocrat was ejected from vehicle so quickly he couldn't orient. All he saw before him, black energy cloud. Looking back at expensive vehicle, the aristocrat saw almost nothing remained. This moment, the man seriously feared for life. Not surprising, the stranger causing Harrison's suffering decisively approached. Though the aristocrat wasn't hero himself, he possessed bodyguard squad and arsenal. He summoned them without lengthy thought, hoping it would help. Yet all attempts proved vain. One by one, men fell grounded dead. The stranger effortlessly destroyed the honorable aristocrat's entire bodyguard. Harrison Vale's legs gave from terror. He realized escape impossible. He could only await death, but everything changed seeing stranger's face. Prince Theron Blackwood immediately reminded the rich man of committed crimes. The longer crime list became, the more Harrison trembled fearfully. Yet today, Caden wouldn't kill him. He needed the aristocrat. Victoria simultaneously busied interrogating another privileged Empire-class representative. The man, despite headbags, still behaved very defiantly. Yet this didn't frighten her, rather made smiling. Victoria didn't believe the prisoner would be found sooner than obtaining desires. Moreover, she had something offering him. When prisoner heard these words, anger turned interest. Victoria slowly removed headbag. Prince Damien knew well Theron would try gaining meeting seat, yet this wasn't his plans. In Prince's opinion, he'd try swaying world toward neutrals. This couldn't be allowed, so he ordered men getting ahead of competitor. The longer this confrontation continued, more hatred accumulated in Damien's soul. Accomplishing all today's goals, Caden decided returning to self-improvement. This was last chance successfully changing Empire's fate. He released energy, beginning lunar eclipse generation. Gradually, powerful force filled everything around. He completely immersed in practice. After great efforts, he finally reached third self-cultivation stage. Victoria and Marcus watched starlight over Prince's estate, not realizing he caused it. That evening, the Twisted Tower Master pondered organization's precarious future. Lord Nathaniel Grimm believed they needed someone powerful surviving. If Morgan, Celestial Slaughter Sorceress, appeared before him now, he'd feel incredibly happy. Nathaniel's thoughts interrupted by servant reporting gate fighting. The master immediately hurried there, but stopped seeing bloody spectacle involving his men. Morgan, seeing Chief Local Sorcerer, playfully greeted him. Minutes later, they sat office-bound, answering mutual questions. When the sorceress introduced herself, everyone present's reaction irritated slightly. Honestly, Morgan hoped for more resistance and skill from local sorcerers. She completed Master's task but decided doing more, creating strong army. Learning of Magic Tower spy murder, demon conspirators met again. They tried analyzing events in University Master's case involvement. Particular concern, possible conspiracy between Edmund and Prince Theron. Ultimately, they coordinated Imperial Governor assassination, especially considering such black hatred existence toward him from Third Prince. Demons wanted eliminating most influential chessboard pieces before a hero appeared. National Issues Meeting Day arrived. Participants began gathering in conference room. Thus far, only council members could observe each other gossiping. No Imperial family representative yet present. Ultimately, all conversations whatever became Prince Theron discussions. Yet gossip silenced when Princess Arya entered conference room with bodyguards. She always arrived early, staying current with everything. Second Princess Alara followed into room. Garrett surprised aristocrats appearing without security. The third prince entered conference room without attracting much attention. Uncharacteristic. He focused all attention on Theron, glad he hadn't appeared. The third prince considered himself extremely far-sighted man. Though hypothetical enemy appearance stressed, Damien felt confident having outplayed him. Yesterday, the prince spent lion's time share-winning everyone possible to side. Alara rose from chair, announcing meeting start. Yet, sixth Prince Theron's arrival announcement made everyone freeze. Caden wasn't accustomed to such warm meetings, so without greeting anyone, quickly walked to seat. Long silence fell conference room. No Imperial family members could understand how he entered this hall. First breaking silence naturally, the third prince. He attacked one manager, demanding explanation. Damien felt certain Theron somehow tricked security guards. Yet administrator announced the viceroy received 11 council members' support. This news seemed physically hitting Third Prince's head. He looked sharply back at council members recruited yesterday. Caden carefully watched competitors' twitches, even enjoying slightly. He noted securing support from council members not neutral as brother believed. To sow more discord among competitor ranks, he noted the problem precisely with Damien's people. Finally, Third Prince completely lost self-control. At that moment, Caden announced meeting start smiling. Alara, as oldest council member, announced summons. Yet present aristocrats didn't listen. They busied examining Viceroy. Only after seeing Prince Theron could understanding why Sorcerer Roland imprisoned. A legitimate viceroy could create problems for established Dark Empire forces. In turn, Caden also closely observed everyone present. He understood needing eliminate half, teaching rest living by changed rules. The main prince problem remained Damien, their relationship rapidly deteriorating. While Caden lost in thought, Alara already summed meeting, declaring closure. Vote already taken on last question. Yet suddenly Prince Theron decided making statement. He wanted discussing parade organization holding earlier this year. The catch, Imperial family members must present with own troops. Everyone except Prince Theron had own people. He stood alone. Alara didn't know reacting, though understanding often couldn't comprehend brother's thought train. Theron insisted not spending more than Sunday preparing. This proposal found no contradictions from Garrett, yet Arya decided disagreeing. The lady couldn't blindly follow Prince's path, not understanding destination. The third prince also supported initiative. He remained focused only on killing brother. Didn't matter how or under what circumstances occurring. Alara only now understood confidence concern about Theron. The man considered him absolute monster, considering Prince lacked military training. Now seeing her brother thought strategically in inaccessible categories to most, the lady felt interested in Theron's sudden proposal reason. She knew well he had very limited loyal circle, yet such hurry. She even offered her people just in case, yet naturally refused. Instead, the prince himself decided sharing some information with sister. For several hours, Princess Arya wandered library rows pondering events. She couldn't understand anything despite efforts. Prince Theron's visit completely confused her. The lady preferred immediate business, eager learning more for competitor analysis. Caden didn't shy from conversation subject. He declared wanting fighting Damien. This brother's desire only caused more confusion. Without dwelling on statements, he added wanting borrowing Arya's strength for winning. Now the lady completely stopped holding emotions. She laughed aloud. She still considered him weaker, not wanting risking reputation helping. Ultimately, the lady interested in personal benefit. Sitting across during these words, she showed impressive energy. Yet Arya didn't know before her stood not same, former Theron. Caden released dark aura, making her freeze. The lady didn't recognize this dark force. Yet very presence made Arya tremble, terrorized. When Arya's fear became apparent, Caden explained direct involvement unnecessary. All he needed, her army. The prince knew well she hated Third Prince more than anyone. Also from novel, knew she'd personally planned Damien's attack but failed. The reason involved events in his palace dungeons. Listening to Governor's arguments, Arya weighed options. She understood alone couldn't handle Third Prince's strength. This weirdo Theron seemed having plan. When he detailed intentions, the lady felt impressed. Ultimately, this persuaded agreement participation. The lady ordered all available troops gathering palace-wide. Shouldn't appear suspicious due to parade. She'd take any action achieving desires. Damien, meanwhile, received scientist report in Imperial Palace dungeon. He felt interested in human experiment results he'd commissioned. The scientist announced progress quite significant, but wouldn't finish experiments by Sunday. This naturally saddened, but Third Prince felt confident handling brother without it. He knew he planned ousting him from Palace, so for these reasons decided acting proactively. Believing Theron would have small men numbers, wanted crushing with this advantage. Scrolling various scenarios, Damien decided ready-provoking fight himself. Everyone warned careful behavior, yet Prince's ego prevented heeding advice. Hatred felt for brother generated more than killing desire. Damien wanted Theron begging him dying himself. At home, Victoria warned Caden the third prince already began acting. Morgan also occupied right location, awaiting new orders. Therefore, he decided starting operation despite Shadow Order head's persuasion. Remembering Chronicle history, Caden understood attacking Third Prince now proved right decision. He was easiest target now. Eventually, when human experiments yield results, Damien becomes too powerful. Therefore, Arya's elimination attempt in novel became fatal for her. Together with 5th Princess's detachment, Caden departed, storming Damien's estate. He felt tickling sensation inside, danger sense so familiar in past life. Sentry sorcerers guarded palace entrance, unaware what approached. As if from underground, small army appeared before them, led by 6th Prince. None had time warning their master. One by one, Caden eliminated both. Soon as foot crossed threshold, guards and sentries began rushing hall-wide from all sides. Though fearless, battle results proved clear advance. In seconds, 3rd Princess Palace became slaughterhouse. The 5th Princess's elemental army proved impossible resisting most experienced warriors. Today, Prince Damien's people felt their heavy hand. Not-so-large fighter detachment raised storm, destroying everything touched. When lobby finished, Arya's people wanted leaving with Caden. Yet he preferred advancing mountain alone, sending Princess's men dungeonward. The elemental army encountered many path obstacles, successfully handling them. Anyone daring resist paid with lives. When finally reaching Laboratory's first room, their sight shocked them. Those once calling themselves humans looked like monsters, devoid of humanity traces. The 3rd Princess sorcerers immediately tried stopping uninvited guests. They decided using newly created creatures for this purpose. Yet such actions only angered 5th Princess's army, determined destroying everything seen. Fierce battle began between good and evil forces. Caden also progressed, searching, wandering Damien's palace corridors. Though alone, his appearance feared much as entire accompanying army. Yet all stopping attempts, however powerful, failed. He overcame every obstacle with lightning speed, leaving opponent corpses behind. Each time Damien's defenders grew numerically, not retreating, because fearing their master more than night stranger. Eventually, the prince felt so fed with petty skirmishes, decided drastic action. Due to strength upgrade, he could now release strong energy stream faster. Like giant tentacles, aura particles found targets, striking them. Finally, seconds after activating skill, none remained alive except Caden. Dungeon laboratory cleared in 20 minutes. Mission seemed soon completed. Now 3rd Prince's betrayal proved obvious. He'd bound himself demon-packed. The elemental army squad head approached the door at room's very end. Opening several centimeters, furious dark energy flow met him. Yet the man couldn't react, instantly killed by creature hiding there. This same scientist Damien constantly consulted. His cover threatened by surprise 3rd Prince Palace attack. Because of this, people could learn demon existence in ranks much sooner than planned. Nothing could be done about events, so scientist had fleeing. He quickly exited Palace, constantly looking back, ensuring unnoticed. Yet escape proved failed attempt. Morgan suddenly appeared his way. The sorceress felt powerful energy emanating from stranger, deciding immediate attack. The scientist felt surprised, barely managing dodge, avoiding blow. Morgan licked lips, anticipating delicious food. While 6th Prince attacked Damien's palace, Arya couldn't decide joining offensive. She worried Theron couldn't defeat 3rd Prince alone. Naturally, most impudent weirdo's death also good option, but dungeons interested her. Eventually, the lady decided going to Damien, ensuring main enemy's death. Alara also came palace with people due to information her brother shared. She didn't fully understand Theron's plan, but offensive underway proved obvious. 5th Princess intervention also undisguised, her troops visible afar. Much time passed since last fight. Seemed all Damien's path obstacles disappeared. Yet, deceptive feeling, Caden had good reason remaining vigilant. The demoness's sudden attack swiftly repelled by Prince. First immediately followed second. Breaking through His Highness's defenses impossible. Another henchman joined demoness, attacking sidewise. Impact so strong Caden lost balance, hitting opposite wall. These two monsters ranked higher than all previous, certain stronger than him. Their Damien Palace appearance no accident. Scientist calling help. From current sight, demanding protection from single snotty. Yet conversely, perfect moment finishing Prince. Theron recently caused much leadership concern in their organization. While two held impromptu meeting, the Prince somewhat recovered from insidious attack. He released energy outward, approaching opponents, gradually accumulating amount. Yet didn't do silently. He provoked monsters with humiliating remarks. Caden felt enraged demons managed bypassing vigilance, briefly disorienting him. The prince didn't allow opponents preparing defense. With lightning speed, rushed toward female form monster. This greatly angered her companion, immediately regrouping. Yet Caden, ready attacking this time, activated Eternal Emperor armor. They came with Excalion but unavailable until power leveling. Now Prince protected from all physical attack types. body remaining unharmed. Giant demon and man met fierce fight. Seconds later, Caden absorbed everything remaining of giant, only demon remained. If first lacked chance, she had even less. The prince flew approaching, grabbing head as if expelling from shell. He relentlessly delivered successive blows to opponent, depriving escape opportunity. Eventually, the monster suffered same fate as henchman. Now Caden truly felt no barrier remained between him and Damien. Minutes later, opened Prince's office door. He expected sworn enemies' arrival, though personally planned destroying Theron later. Meanwhile, palace front, scientists still tried avoiding death from Sorceress's extraordinary power. Seemingly effortless, she did things only few world wizards capable. Strangely, such powerful person escaped Demon Clan's watchful eye until now. The scientist understood this opponent might prove excessive. His priority remained palace escape, avoiding prying eyes. With dark magic, one blow unexpectedly eliminated opponent. Though surprising, scientist quite immediately ran away. Yet Morgan, recovering within seconds, stopped halfway. This worthless dark wizard didn't know his contact. She'd prove it. Moments later, the man realized situation completely dire. Few maneuver options remained. Couldn't escape due intense pressure. With all strength, scientists tried blocking opponents' attacks. Only one monster way remained, taking true demon form. Yet identity revelation doubts allowed Morgan dangerously approaching. While Morgan handled spy, Damien apologized to Theron personally. He admitted underestimating brother's abilities from the beginning. He'd perceived all Theron's victories as simple luck. Yet everything changed with office appearance. Now Damien recognized him as competitor. The competitor proved so strong, killing necessity there outweighed everything. At formation beginning, Damien proved inferior to other Imperial family descendants. Starsea Power submitted even smaller siblings, not him. This made Prince passionately strive self-improvement. Eventually invented combining Imperial family powerful techniques and Edmund clan magic elements. Fortunately, he and world's most powerful wizard related, making Damien Blackwood his monster. Yet time passing, Third Prince's power level almost completely stopped increasing. In this despair moment, scientists came promising throwing throne at Damien's feet. Naturally, he agreed to cunning demon's conditions. The stranger, Prince didn't care about price. Damien didn't object any horrific human dungeon experiments. Black demonic magic results gave Third Prince significant power increase. Now this worthless Theron tried thwarting all greatness and power plans. Caden donned armor, preparing Knight's main battle. His energy light instantly absorbed Third Prince's aura, gradually filling office. Damien never saw such strange power before. He considered Starsea power planets most powerful, like other Imperial family members. Tired talking, the prince first attacked uninvited guest. One movement, Caden parried opponent's blow. Done this, His Highness immediately launched frontal attack. This made Damien laugh, considering such act real suicide. Containment spell formed cocoon around Caden. Yet Third Prince's tactics proved ineffective. Attacker's advance wasn't stopped. Eventually, Sixth Prince reached target, striking, forcing Damien quick dodging. When first blow missed target, Caden immediately attacked again. Only protective barrier. Third Prince quickly formed between them, saved. The attacker didn't surrender. In fight excitement, Prince didn't consider building structural strength. Office floor collapsed. Since Caden stood collapse epicenter fell with concrete debris into Palace Hall. Seeing opponent floor lying, Damien cheered, thinking end near. The Third Prince thought Theron so stupid, not considering power before attacking. Delivering next pompous speeches, moved closer to youth. Caden seemed losing last strength, deceptive impression. He had ace up sleeve, decided using one Chronos question freezing time. Rising to feed, activating bracelet smiling. Damien didn't understand what opponent done, but still breathing drove him crazy. Battle erupted renewed vigor. Yet none Third Prince's blows reached target, destroyed by Caden's barrier. While Damien considered changing tactics, opponent exploited delay. The Sixth Prince grabbed enemy's head, throwing room's other end. Attack object couldn't properly defend from surprise. Pressure proved excessive. Eventually turned powerful explosion amid once beautiful Palace Hall. Caden smelled blood, couldn't stop, victory too close. He accelerated attack frequency, making effective defense impossible. Damien understood saving life required increasing distance between them. With last strength, Third Prince generated powerful shield-pushing enemy required distance. Yet no matter holding pressure attempts slowly buckled under brother's thrust force. Eventually defense finally destroyed. Caden demanded decent fight from Damien, not half-hearted defense. Again, pinning competitor against wall noticed he'd dye his hands. This behavior, previously causing brothers ridicule, proved horrifying. Theron became monster. He seemed transforming into real death machine. Caden decided using maximum strength should suffice final victory. Survival race began, Damien simply running from angry armored knight. He tried protecting life with all might, terrified realizing mistake. The third prince felt death's sword rapidly approaching chest. This forced gathering will into fist, generating all power into blow. Palace hall ceiling illuminated by myriad lightning bolts. After hovering split second, flew rapidly toward Caden. Yet instantly, all powerful energy absorbed by Excalion transformed into black mist. Stunned by instant transformation, Damien realized no options remained. He couldn't let Theron win, willing doing anything preventing. In desperation, Damien summoned all available dark energy stored body deep. Instantly transformed into demonic power product, third principle went offensive. Caden didn't stop suicide, wanted seeing horror in brother's eyes before death. At this moment, Alara and men entered palace. Morgan also immediately felt powerful energy burst, pulling from opponent. The scientist immediately exploited this, escaping through portal. The sorceress felt very upset by duel's ending. She'd hoped absorbing this powerful force, advancing self-cultivation. Morgan felt very attracted to powerful dark magic now oversaturating Third Prince's palace. Recent days she'd often remembered Promise destroying her master, yet now completely content being with him. Morgan decided joining Prince Theron inside enemy palace. Meanwhile, Damien already managed releasing dark magic toward Caden, yet he deftly dodged attack, wounding Third Principal with sword. He couldn't orient timely, preparing safe tactics. Excalion tore pieces, causing incredible pain, yet opponent didn't consider stopping. Battle to death. Damien signed own death warrant, clearly demonstrating demon collaboration. Caden saw perfectly they weren't alone. Alara legitimized traitor elimination with presence. From this point, actions wouldn't be considered law violation.